If there's one type of body fat that scientists worry about more than almost any other, it's not the fat you can pinch, it's the fat you can't even see. Hidden deep inside your abdomen is a type of fat known as visceral fat. Unlike the fat just beneath your skin, visceral fat surrounds vital organs like your liver, pancreas, and intestines. Research has linked excessive amounts of it with a higher risk of metabolic disorders, cardiovascular disease, insulin resistance, and many other age related health problems. Here's what makes this even more surprising: two people can wear the same clothing size, have nearly identical body weights, and yet one may carry significantly more visceral fat than the other. In other words, your bathroom scale tells only part of the story. But researchers have also uncovered something remarkably hopeful. Your body is far more dynamic than many people realize. Visceral fat often responds differently from other types of fat. Under the right lifestyle conditions, studies suggest it may decrease more readily than subcutaneous fat, especially when nutrition, physical activity, sleep, and overall metabolic health begin improving together. And among all the lifestyle factors scientists have investigated, one stands out repeatedly: food. Not because there's a single miracle food, not because one ingredient melts fat overnight, but because certain foods appear to influence the biological systems that determine whether visceral fat continues accumulating or gradually declines over time. Today's video explores exactly what the science says. We'll examine foods that research suggests may support healthier metabolism, improve blood sugar regulation, reduce chronic inflammation, nourish your gut microbiome, and activate pathways involved in healthy fat metabolism. Some of these foods are probably already sitting in your kitchen. Others may completely change the way you think about healthy eating. And one discovery, involving tiny natural compounds found in colorful plants, has become one of the most exciting areas in nutrition science over the past decade. Let's begin by clearing up one of the biggest misconceptions about belly fat. For years, many people believe that all body fat behaves essentially the same way: lose weight, and every fat cell simply shrinks together. However, researchers later discovered something much more interesting. Fat isn't just stored energy, it's actually an active biological tissue. Scientists now understand that fat cells constantly communicate with the rest of the body. They release hormones, signaling molecules, and inflammatory compounds that influence everything from appetite to immune function. Visceral fat is especially active. When visceral fat accumulates beyond healthy levels, evidence suggests it may produce higher amounts of inflammatory chemicals that circulate throughout the body. Over time, this low-grade inflammation has been associated with changes in metabolism, blood vessel health, and insulin sensitivity. This helps explain why someone with only moderate excess body weight may still experience metabolic challenges if much of their fat is stored around internal organs. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The goal isn't simply eating less, it's creating an internal environment where your body becomes better at regulating energy. Researchers often describe this as improving metabolic flexibility. Imagine your metabolism as a hybrid engine. Sometimes it runs efficiently on carbohydrates. Other times it smoothly switches to stored fat. In many people carrying excess visceral fat, that switching mechanism becomes less efficient. Blood sugar regulation becomes less stable. Hunger signals become stronger. Energy levels fluctuate throughout the day. Instead of adapting smoothly, the body begins relying more heavily on frequent calorie intake. Evidence suggests that improving metabolic flexibility may help restore some of this balance, and food quality plays a major role. One of the first foods researchers consistently associate with healthier visceral fat levels is something surprisingly simple: fiber-rich foods. Fiber rarely receives the attention given to protein or healthy fats, yet it influences multiple biological systems simultaneously. Unlike digestible carbohydrates, much of dietary fiber reaches the large intestine relatively intact. There, something remarkable happens. Trillions of beneficial gut bacteria begin fermenting that fiber, producing compounds called short chain fatty acids. These natural compounds have become an enormous area of scientific interest because they appear to support gut barrier integrity, influence appetite hormones, and contribute to healthier metabolic signaling. Researchers continue studying exactly how these mechanisms work, but the connection between gut health and metabolism has become increasingly compelling. This means foods like beans, lentils, oats, barley, apples, berries, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, chia seeds, and flax seeds may be doing much more than simply helping digestion. They're feeding an entire ecosystem inside your body. And that ecosystem may influence how efficiently your metabolism functions. But that's only one part of the story. Scientists have also observed that fiber slows digestion. Instead of causing rapid spikes in blood sugar followed by sudden crashes, meals containing more fiber often produce steadier glucose responses. This matters because repeated large glucose spikes may contribute over time to increased insulin demand. Maintaining healthier glucose control is one factor associated with better metabolic health. Then researchers uncovered another fascinating pattern. Not all colorful fruits and vegetables are valuable simply because of vitamins. Many contain naturally occurring compounds known as polyphenols. If you've never heard of polyphenols, you're not alone. Yet scientists have published thousands of studies investigating these remarkable plant chemicals. Polyphenols help protect plants from environmental stress. When humans consume polyphenol-rich foods, researchers believe some of these compounds may interact with pathways involved in inflammation, oxidative stress, blood vessel function, and cellular signaling. Foods naturally rich in polyphenols include blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, cherries, pomegranates, cocoa, green tea, extra virgin olive oil, onions, herbs, spices, and leafy greens. What's especially interesting isn't that one particular food performs miracles, it's the cumulative effect. Dietary patterns consistently rich in diverse plant foods are repeatedly associated with better long-term metabolic outcomes. Notice the word patterns. Nutrition science increasingly emphasizes that overall eating habits matter more than individual superfoods. That's an important shift because many people spend years chasing one miracle ingredient after another while overlooking the power of everyday meals. However, researchers later discovered another nutrient that deserves equal attention: protein. As we age, maintaining muscle becomes increasingly important. Muscle tissue isn't only responsible for movement, it's one of the body's largest sites for glucose disposal. Healthy muscle helps absorb circulating glucose after meals, supporting overall metabolic regulation. Evidence suggests that adequate dietary protein, especially when combined with resistance exercise, may help preserve lean body mass during weight loss. Why does this matter for visceral fat? Because maintaining muscle often supports a healthier resting metabolic rate and improves overall body composition. Good protein sources include fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, legumes, tofu, poultry, cottage cheese, and minimally processed soy foods. Each meal containing sufficient protein may also increase satiety, helping many people naturally regulate calorie intake without feeling excessively deprived. Yet the real discovery came years later. Researchers realized that what we drink may influence visceral fat almost as much as what we eat. Sugar-sweetened beverages have been extensively studied because liquid calories behave differently from solid foods. Liquids often produce weaker fullness signals. That means someone may consume hundreds of calories without experiencing the same degree of satiety they would after eating whole foods. Over time, this pattern may contribute to excess energy intake. Replacing sugary drinks with water, sparkling water, unsweetened tea, or coffee without excessive added sugar is one of the simplest dietary changes many health professionals recommend. And speaking of tea, one particular beverage continues attracting scientific attention: green tea. Green tea contains naturally occurring compounds called catechins, especially EGCG. Researchers have investigated whether these compounds may support healthy fat metabolism, particularly when combined with regular physical activity. Results across studies have been mixed, and effects are generally modest rather than dramatic. Still, evidence suggests green tea can be part of an overall healthy dietary pattern. That's an important reminder throughout this entire discussion. Nutrition isn't about dramatic overnight transformations. It's about consistent biological signals repeated thousands of times over months and years. Then scientists made another unexpected observation. The type of fat we eat also appears to matter. For decades, dietary fat itself was often blamed for increasing body fat. Today, the picture is much more nuanced. Research suggests replacing highly processed fats with sources of unsaturated fats may support better cardiovascular and metabolic health. Foods like avocados, walnuts, almonds, pistachios, olive oil, seeds, and fatty fish provide nutrients beyond calories alone. Fatty fish, such as salmon, sardines, trout, and mackerel, provide omega-3 fatty acids, which researchers continue investigating for their role in supporting heart health and helping regulate inflammatory processes. Again, these aren't magic foods, they're pieces of a larger puzzle. And perhaps the biggest surprise is that many traditional dietary patterns around the world naturally combine these foods without labeling them as superfoods at all. Mediterranean style meals, many traditional Asian diets, and other minimally processed eating patterns often emphasize vegetables, legumes, seafood, whole grains, herbs, healthy oils, and abundant plant diversity. Despite cultural differences, these eating patterns share remarkable similarities. And scientists have become increasingly interested in why. The answer may reveal one of the most important lessons in healthy aging. The answer may reveal one of the most important lessons in healthy aging. When researchers compare populations around the world that consistently enjoy longer, healthier lives, they often notice something striking. These communities rarely depend on a single superfood. Instead, their daily meals form consistent patterns that support metabolic health year after year. This idea is becoming increasingly important in nutrition science. Your body responds not only to what you eat today, but also to the signals you repeat over months, years, and even decades. Every balanced meal sends information to your metabolism. Every serving of vegetables feeds beneficial gut microbes. Every source of high-quality protein helps maintain muscle. Every night of adequate sleep supports the hormones that regulate hunger. Every walk after dinner encourages muscles to use circulating glucose more efficiently. Individually, these actions may seem almost insignificant. Collectively, they create an entirely different internal environment. And this is where another fascinating discovery emerges. Scientists have learned that visceral fat is strongly connected to lifestyle factors beyond nutrition alone. Exercise, for example, appears to have unique effects on abdominal fat. Interestingly, studies suggest that even when weight loss is relatively modest, regular physical activity may still reduce visceral fat while improving insulin sensitivity and cardiovascular fitness. That surprises many people. They assume the scale is the ultimate measure of success. But researchers increasingly emphasize that body composition and metabolic health often tell a more meaningful story than body weight alone. Imagine two people who both lose 10 pounds. One loses mostly muscle, the other preserves muscle while reducing visceral fat. The number on the scale may be identical, but internally, their bodies may look very different. That's one reason resistance training has become such an important part of healthy aging. Strength training challenges muscles to adapt. Over time, maintaining muscle mass supports balance, mobility, bone health, and metabolic function. Combined with regular walking, cycling, swimming, or other forms of aerobic exercise, it creates a powerful foundation for long-term wellness. However, that's not the most interesting part. Researchers have also been investigating what happens after meals. For years, many people believed that once a meal ended, metabolism simply took care of the rest automatically. But evidence suggests our behavior during the next hour may also matter. Several studies have found that a short walk after eating may help improve post meal glucose regulation compared with remaining completely sedentary. The walk doesn't need to be intense. Even a comfortable pace for 10 to 20 minutes may provide benefits for many people. It's a reminder that healthy habits don't always require dramatic effort. Sometimes consistency beats intensity. And then scientists turned their attention to another overlooked factor: sleep. At first glance, sleep doesn't seem connected to belly fat, but the relationship appears to be surprisingly strong. Research suggests that consistently inadequate sleep may influence hormones involved in hunger and fullness, including ghrelin and leptin. Poor sleep has also been associated with reduced insulin sensitivity and increased cravings for highly processed foods in many people. Think about what happens after a poor night's sleep. Healthy choices often become more difficult. Energy drops, stress rises, convenience foods become more tempting, physical activity feels harder. Over time, these patterns can reinforce one another. This doesn't mean that one restless night causes visceral fat accumulation. It means that chronic sleep deprivation may gradually influence behaviors and biological processes associated with metabolic health. And this is where stress enters the picture. Stress is a normal part of life. Your body is designed to respond to challenges. The problem arises when stress remains elevated for extended periods without opportunities for recovery. Researchers continue studying the relationship between chronic stress, cortisol, eating behaviors, and abdominal fat distribution. While the biology is complex, many scientists believe prolonged stress may contribute indirectly by affecting appetite, sleep quality, food choices, and physical activity. That's why healthy aging isn't built on nutrition alone. It's built on recovery. Simple practices like spending time outdoors, maintaining social connections, practicing mindfulness, engaging in enjoyable hobbies, or simply making time to relax may support overall well-being alongside healthy eating. Then came another surprising discovery. Researchers began looking not only at what people eat, but how quickly they eat. Several observational studies have found associations between eating rapidly and higher body weight or greater abdominal fat accumulation. Why might that happen? Your brain needs time to receive signals that you're becoming full. When meals disappear in just a few minutes, it's easier to consume more energy before satiety catches up. Slowing down allows those natural feedback systems to work more effectively. Something as simple as chewing thoroughly, putting utensils down between bites, or enjoying conversation during meals may help encourage more mindful eating. Again, it's not about perfection, it's about creating conditions that make healthier choices easier. And perhaps the biggest misconception of all is believing that one unhealthy meal ruins everything. It doesn't. Your metabolism is remarkably adaptable. One celebration meal doesn't determine your future. Neither does one missed workout. What matters far more is the pattern that follows. Researchers often describe health as the result of accumulated behaviors. Thousands of small decisions gradually shape the body's physiology. This perspective removes much of the guilt that people carry around food. Instead of asking, "Was this meal perfect?" a more helpful question becomes, "What pattern am I creating?" That shift in thinking can be incredibly powerful. It encourages sustainability rather than restriction. Because the healthiest dietary pattern is ultimately the one you can maintain for years, not days, not weeks, years. So, what might a day of eating look like when viewed through the lens of current evidence? Breakfast could include Greek yogurt with berries, chia seeds, walnuts, and oats, providing protein, fiber, healthy fats, and polyphenols. Lunch might feature a large salad filled with leafy greens, colorful vegetables, beans, olive oil, and grilled salmon or tofu. An afternoon snack could be an apple with a handful of almonds. Dinner might include roasted vegetables, lentils, or fish, whole grains such as quinoa or barley, and herbs that add flavor without relying heavily on excess sodium or added sugars. Notice what's missing. There are no miracle powders, no expensive detox drinks, no extreme restrictions, no single ingredient carrying the entire burden of health. Instead, every meal contributes another small advantage. Fiber supports the microbiome. Protein supports muscle. Healthy fats support cardiovascular health. Colorful plants provide diverse phytonutrients. Whole foods help regulate appetite. Together, these repeated signals may help create an environment that supports healthier metabolism. However, nutrition science continues evolving. Researchers are still learning about personalized nutrition, genetics, gut microbiomes, meal timing, and individual responses to different foods. That's why it's important to remain flexible. What works well for one person may require adjustment for another. Individuals with medical conditions, food allergies, or those taking medications should discuss significant dietary changes with a qualified healthcare professional who understands their personal health history. Science is not about rigid rules. It's about refining our understanding as better evidence becomes available. Perhaps that's the most encouraging message of all. Healthy aging isn't reserved for people with perfect genetics. It isn't limited to elite athletes. It doesn't require expensive supplements or complicated routines. In many cases, it begins with ordinary foods chosen consistently. A bowl of beans, fresh berries, leafy greens, olive oil, nuts, whole grains, fish, fermented foods, colorful vegetables, simple ingredients that humans have enjoyed for generations. None of them promise instant transformation, but together they represent one of the strongest patterns repeatedly associated with better long-term health in scientific research. And if there's one lesson that emerges again and again from decades of nutrition science, it's this: small improvements, repeated consistently, often produce meaningful results over time. You don't have to change everything tomorrow. You can begin with one meal, one healthier grocery trip, one evening walk, one extra serving of vegetables, 1 hour of better sleep. Then repeat those choices week after week, month after month, year after year. Because longevity isn't built in a single day, it's built through thousands of ordinary decisions that quietly shape the future. The decisions we make today may seem small, but over years and decades, those choices can shape how we age, how we feel, and how long we remain healthy. That's why understanding the science matters. If you found this exploration valuable, consider sharing it with someone who wants to age healthier, think more clearly, and build habits supported by evidence rather than hype. Stay curious, keep learning, and remember that your everyday choices are investments in the years still ahead.